What is up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Hey, got a testimony for y'all, and it's related to yesterday when I preached. Pastor put me up there again, and man, I always love it's kind of a love-hate relationship with preaching, because of course, you want to impact people's lives. You want people to be closer to God. You want to do a good job, to not just be a good speaker, but the way you communicate, you want it to be helpful for people, in their own life, their own pursuit. And it's fun, in my opinion, the challenge of communicating in a way that's easy enough to follow. And of course, when you do make an impact on people's lives, it's such a great feeling. You think about it all day afterwards. It's a rich experience, and it's fun. You get to make people laugh. Everyone's in a room listening to you talk. It's not that often that you get, that many people's attention. Not that, again, that's something you're trying to take advantage of by any means. It's just something that personally, I enjoy. It's fun. But on the other hand, it is gut-wrenching. You're digging deep. You're being vulnerable. You're leaving it all out there. And you open yourself up to criticism, to negative feedback, to discussion, whether it's about the content of something you said, theology, whether it's a story or a remark that could have been misinterpreted or found offensive, or whatever, just random accusations or preferences, or this is how I would have gone about something differently, stuff like that. It's and just the effectiveness of your communication, how well did you do? It's hard. It's not something you really want to do every single week. At least I don't, and I never have been in that position, so thankful for that. But yesterday, let me tell you about it. So, pretty cool testimonies, in my opinion. But the gist of what I shared about was 3 keys plus a bonus key, 4th key, not to give too much away, about how to nurture communication with God, how to strengthen your conversation, your relationship with Him, by observing a couple things from David's communication in Psalm 6. So less so what he communicated and more so the why behind the what, or the how of his communication. I think it was pretty good. Well, it was a rough sermon. I mean, it was fine. Let me just the encouraging part. Well, one of the most vulnerable parts of it is that I just cried many times, but particularly at the end, I felt like God wanted me to give an example of something I was talking about by playing for everyone on a guitar and singing for them this song that I had sung to God in one of my own just quiet times, devotional time. So I'm not a talented singer. I'm not a guitarist. I'm not even a singer. I'm the quality was bad, which in and of itself was vulnerable. But the song itself was also very vulnerable, just like Psalm 6 is. And so that was just just so uncomfortable. But when you're genuine, and when you're putting your heart and soul on the table, and intentionally making yourself vulnerable before people, it just sometimes it can open hearts, it can open doors, even if the quality of the communication or the content isn't that impressive. And I feel like that happened yesterday. Literally, guys, two different people. So like, I'll just share the things, and then I'll give you a frame of reference. But two different people, both of whom are like quite like seasoned, in the faith, leaders in the church, like far beyond me in terms of the world of Christendom. Two of those people thanked me yesterday for doing that. And like to receive a thank you after a sermon is unique. I'd say it's more common to either not get a ton of feedback or just get like a, man, you crushed it, or good job, like encouraging you, the communicator, or maybe like reciting one of the lines you said, like, hey, that was a good point, like I'm writing that one down, that, like, but like a genuine, like a fatherly or a motherly or just like a thank you. And they shared more, but that was encouraging to me. But even more notable, 3 different guys, 2 of the 3 I have never met, came up to me crying, or came up to me and at some point started crying, or at least like eyes flooded with, pink and wet. Like, crazy, right? Maybe that doesn't sound crazy to you, but I'm not the most intuitive navigator of conversations by any means. So it's like I'm not such a seasoned communicator that I can just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna make people cry today. Like, and I don't want to get into the details of the different things that they were sharing, but 2 of the 3 were going through some difficult things. One of them said that he said, I don't know how long, but he said it's been a really long time since I've been at a service or listened to a sermon where where it felt like they were speaking directly to me, or like it felt like it was like cutting straight to my heart. Something like that is what he said, which is cool. And it's cool not just like, oh, Jeremy's ability, but it's cool because like preaching, these are like prayerful experiences, right? Like I'm asking the Lord like what to talk about, like I'm praying into it, right? So to pray into it, to get direction from the Lord, and then to see someone deeply impacted in the way that feels more specific to them than who knows how many dozens of sermons that they've listened to in recent memory. That's awesome, right? Another guy going through a crazy hard thing, and I won't share all of that, but man, he was like just a man's man, like just big, deep voice, huge, jacked guy, like, and so to see him in tears is not specifically about what he's going through, but about how the message spoke to him, is crazy. And also just literally even thinking about the stature of the 2 of us, like, it's wild. It's kind of a rabbit trail that some of y'all are probably a little bit like annoyed for me to reference multiple times throughout this year of YouTube videos. But literally, guys, 2,000 years ago, there's no way he's coming up to me, like coming under my leadership, like coming to me, looking up to me and seeking like comfort and prayer and viewing me as some type of inspiration for what he's going through. Like, just by nature, the fact that he's a huge man, like, and I'm a little bit less huge by a slight bit, you know? It's just crazy to me. Like the optics of it is like, wow. Like you could like snap a finger and break my neck, you know? And it's not something, again, I'm just like in awe of, hopefully you don't feel super uncomfortable like, oh man, there goes Jeremy again. You know, like I'm pretty comfortable with being small, you know? But it's just so unique. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. If anyone else is 5'5", then just drop a comment and back me up. This is like, you know, it's just cool that God can uh, like he can establish whoever he wants to establish, you know, or like Jacob, you know, the biblical Jacob or the biblical David. I mean, David had some parts of him that were like super beastly, so maybe Jacob is the better example of just like a pretty weak, a pretty like type B, pretty feminine, a little bit passive, like of a guy, and God like establishes his entire people through him. You know, like Jacob's the one that was named Israel. And God did that, but I don't know if emotionally so many people were coming up to Jacob like, man, that's the guy, you know? Like, and so anyways, it's just weird to receive that. But anyways, I pray for him, and this verse comes into my mind as I'm praying for him. I feel like it's probably God that brought it to my mind. And so I tell him in the prayer, I'm like, hey, you know, such and such verse says this, and I just want to encourage you. And I'm just like, pray that, you know, that would be true in your life. And he starts laughing, and he tells me after the prayer, he goes, I didn't even tell you about that part. And basically that specific verse had been like basically spoken to him or stood out to him from a sermon that he listened to like within the past week or two. And so he's just being encouraged by the Lord who sees him and knows him, and it was cool to be a part of that too. You know, I'm always on the hearing God testimonies. Those are just probably my favorite, because that's what it's all about, right? Relationship with God. Anyways, 3 guys crying. And who knows if anyone else cried during the message. It's not like you're trying to tack up cries, like good message equals more cries. But that just happens to be part of the testimony that I'm sharing from yesterday's preaching. The genuine thank yous, and then, yeah, even a couple people just like hours later, you know, reach out to me via text or whatever and just talk about how it was really stirring, or, you know, just like even the encouragements about what I communicated or whatever were just like more descriptive and heartfelt. Like it, again, partially like probably people like wanting to comfort me and aware of how vulnerable that I felt. So some of it's just like good humans, you know, which, hey, that's a testimony too. Thank you, Lord, for renewing our nature, making us good instead of bad. You know, we were good, then we chose bad, and now we're getting redeemed again. Look out. Anyways, it was good. I just want to share that with y'all. I don't know if this sounds like somehow like narcissistic or egotistical. It feels a little uncomfortable of a testimony for me, because it's like, look guys, I preached, it was awesome. But that's not really the, like, I'm trying to communicate that God did something yesterday in people that was beyond what I could have known, what I could have prepared for, and it was a fruit of what he's doing in me too, which is another testimony. You know, that, oh wow, if I feel like I'm walking with God in this way, and then I share that vulnerably, and it encouraged other people's walks with God, like maybe I'm on a good walk with God, you know. Whereas if I didn't have that, you know, or if it didn't land that way, it's like, well, maybe I'm the one that's off, or, you know, I don't know. So anyways, God's good. Just want to encourage y'all. He's on the move. He's doing things. If any of y'all went to church this week, hey, hope you put something in the offering basket. I don't know why I said that. I said, oh man, I'll share this story for another day. But I'm just saying, gotta give God that 10%, y'all. That one's free. That's not what I'm talking about in this video, but here we are. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon. Life is worship. God is love.